Welcome back, everybody. This is Music Talk with Mike and Dave. He's Mike.
And that's Dave.
All right. Well, this week we're going to do a little something different. We're actually going to do a review on this new Styx album, which is called Crash of the Crown. And we're also going to do the latest Dennis DeYoung, which is 26 East Volume 2. And then we're going to talk about at the end on which one we think's more of a Styx sounding CD. Kind of compare them a little bit, not get too much into it, because I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh my God, they don't sound like this because they don't have him or he don't do that. They should vote whatever. So anyway, Crash of the Crown looks like this. It's a pretty cool cover. I mean, I like the picture on there. You look real close. It looks like they're like skiing, like some people are skiing to this hole, sort of. There's people around there, and then
Right.
you're looking through a hole into what appears to be some kind of atmosphere or earth, sky, something. I'm not sure. If you
It's
look under,
the eye in the sky looking at you.
is that what it is? Eye in the sky could be.
Just like me.
Well, then what they did is on the inside of the case, which is plastic, and Amazon delivery kind of busted mine all up here. But anyway, uh, if you look here, they're all looking down the hole at you. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird. Kind of like we're in the hole there, I guess.
Mhm.
Pretty interesting thing about this picture. I don't know if you heard about that, but what they did was the guy that was doing the art direction put the phone down on the floor and looked over and took a picture, and he sent it to them, and he said, since we're not going to be together for a picture, everybody put your phone about this far away from you, lean over, take a picture of yourself and send it to me. So they did that, and then he kind of photoshopped them in to that. So that's pretty interesting.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Back of it's good because it's white with black lettering, very easy to read. I want to thank them for that.
Mhm.
You got your Styx, kind of the older Styx symbol. That's like the old days right there. On
Yeah,
the,
I like that. I like that some. Like,
yeah, definitely, definitely cool. The inside of it's neat. Other than the fact that I get this review from a Styx guy. I mean, it's their guy that does all their documentary telling me how great this album is before I even listen to it. Right. Um, the words in here are good. It's white with black letters, simple, good and easy to read. You got all the words. You got all the liner notes, the thank yous, all that stuff. Who plays what? Got a guy on there this time, and I think he's been with them on the last couple records, called Will Evankovich or Evankovich. I'm not really sure. He did the producing, the mixing, and wrote every song on here but one, or was involved in the writing with every song except for one, which is
yeah.
kind of crazy to me. But
Let's see. Was that the information on the CD itself in the liners?
yeah,
Yeah. Because see, I looked everywhere online, and the only thing I could find, well, it wasn't the only article, but every article I found was strictly with Tommy Shaw.
yeah,
You know.
it might be two songs that he didn't write on, but he wrote just about everything, but maybe a couple.
Uh
But
huh.
yeah, I mean, if you go looking on this, man, you really think that it's a Tommy Shaw solo album, right?
Pretty much. Uh, you know, it's very interesting story that I read on this one talking about where how Tommy Shaw came about being a part of Styx,
Hmm.
and he was working with this band, a group called MS Funk, a couple of years earlier
Hmm.
before he joined. And he goes, we were an 8 piece, and he recalls we were like hard rock, soul rock, we had a good following. And because at that time MS Funk was considered Styx, who were riding high on the successful hit single Lady, their rivals from Chicago. Every year Styx was like, making a new album. And Shaw says, I was like, how did these guys do all this stuff? We were playing in bars and they had this in with the DJ, and he ran all the proms, homecomings, and dances in high schools. And he said they played like every high school in Chicago. And they really built a fan base there that still remembers him. We were like, we hate Styx.
Yeah.
And 45 years later, he's talking about he goes, Shaw's still playing with Styx.
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, he got the gig because he could actually hit that high note on Lady.
well,
Yeah.
also too, they were releasing their, I think it was their second album, and the guitar player they had that had that high voice
Yeah.
singing,
JC
he,
John.
he decided to leave before they even released the album. So
Right.
they had to scramble, and that's how Tommy Shaw got the call.
Well, it was actually like their fifth or sixth album because
Was it?
it was
Okay,
their second album when they went to A&M.
maybe that's what it was. They
Yeah,
were
because they were on a record label called Wooden Nickel
right.
for like 3 or 4 records. Yeah.
He said what the way they did it, they handed him like 5 or 6 albums when he got there, told him to learn 13 songs
Yeah.
out of those 5 or 6 albums. And he said they had one rehearsal and hit the road.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was listening to some Dennis DeYoung interviews lately talking about it, and he said they brought him in and said, well, our only hit is Lady, so you got to hit this high note. And he hit the high note. And then they started listening to some of the tapes he brought in. And Dennis DeYoung was like, are you singing on that? And he's like, yeah. He said, are you playing the guitar on that? He's like, yeah. And he's like, okay. All right, well, go learn these songs.
Yep.
And they were like, Dennis is funny because Dennis said, here we are, we're Styx, we're not used to doing much on stage. JY just stands there like the stoic guitar player, don't move around much. We just kind of stand there. We didn't know how Tommy Shaw was going to be. First gig, he's all over the place. We're like, oh my God, he's going to fall. Get him down from there. Where's he at? What is he? So he's like, because they had no idea. They never heard him play. They just heard him hit that note
Right.
and brought him in. So it was pretty funny how that worked out. But
Yep. Yep.
so yeah, so it kind of, to me, this kind of sounds like a Tommy Shaw solo album to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
It's kind of funny though. I mean, they talk about there's a couple of songs on there though that, and I don't know if it's the keyboard player that's doing the singing.
yeah, that's Lawrence. Yeah,
Lawrence, yeah, going.
yep,
Um, but I swear to God, he sounded like Freddie Mercury a couple of times.
yeah. I definitely have that written down too. And some of the vocals, the harmonies sound like the Beatles.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so um, I got a few notes. We'll run through the songs real quick. There's 15 songs on here, which really is not that many because a couple of them are so short. They're kind of like a prelude to another one.
It's probably about 10 or 12 songs
Yeah,
altogether.
because even the first song, Fight of Our Lives, is only like about 2 minutes, right? It's like a prelude. And then
Yeah.
you get to that song, A Monster. And that one, that one's got the definitely the Styx elements to it. It's got the Moog sound and all
Right.
that stuff. Really good guitar solo in there by JY.
Mhm.
And then they do that drum fill solo that was kind of out of place to me. It just kind of
Yeah.
stops, does a drum fill solo, and then they start playing again. And it was like, and I heard Tommy say something about it that they liked Todd's playing so much they wanted to give him some. So they just do a little spot in here and there. And it didn't work for me because it was out of place.
Yeah, I think, and see, I can't, I can't really say that I think Todd would have done that other than the fact that he was probably prodded along to do it.
I think
Yeah,
so.
but he's got a lot more taste than that. The
He
man's
does.
highly educated. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was kind of like, hey, play some drum fills. And then they recorded them and then they just kind of plugged them in.
Right. Right.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Because it was just like out of the blue. I looked at my wife and said, "That's Todd Zuckerman doing
Yeah.
that."
Yeah.
I said, "That's the
Great
guy
fills.
all the time." Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
he
then you
played
get,
traditional grip too.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he kind of was one of the highlights on the record for me.
Yeah.
His playing was pretty good, really good, actually. And the sound wasn't, had a pretty good sound. I don't think he changed much of his sound throughout the record.
He had some different snare sounds.
Yeah, he did that.
He had some different attacks. I like that one song where I can't think of the name of it, but it was like a tom type
Mhm.
thing that he does, and I've seen him do it on several occasions. I've seen Steve Smith do the same thing pretty much.
Yeah.
It's pretty standard, as far as what's going on with these high tech drummers today, but
Yeah, but I
it,
mean, his
it
feel,
sounded great. It sounded great, you know.
yeah, his feel is the touch that he uses is what made it sound different to me.
Right,
I mean,
right,
even
right.
though you didn't have a whole different sound, just the way he played the songs.
Yeah. Well, see,
Yeah,
he's got a huge kit. I mean, he's got everything from the gong drum all the way around. He actually had Pearl make him a 6-inch tom to go with his master's kit.
yeah, yeah.
So,
He sits behind a monster set for sure.
yeah. And so, I mean, he don't have to change out too much, but I do know that listen to it, he did change out his snare on a couple of songs
Yeah,
because he had a little bit of a higher pitch snare on a couple of them.
right.
And overall, I liked the album. I
Yeah,
didn't get tired of it. It didn't bore me. It
yeah,
didn't surprise me. I was kind of happy to hear they kind of stuck to the Styx, formula.
yeah.
And I was glad too that there was some of it, like we said, was that, and they even talk about it in an interview. It had an Abbey Road to kind of fill in a couple of places.
Yeah. Yeah, the third song, Reveries, had a lot of that Beatles uh,
Right.
harmony stuff going on. It was kind of weird though because the verse and the chorus were really it had a weird contrast to me. They didn't like it, didn't like meld together. This whole album, I felt like there wasn't a lot of. It didn't feel like a band album to me.
Right.
It felt more like we have all these parts. We're going to put them together and make a song. I didn't have the passion. I didn't feel the passion. It just, I don't know, man. Something about it just didn't feel like they actually worked together on this. I mean, I
Well,
know they were all separate,
they
but
didn't.
I know
Oh,
it just didn't. I don't know.
well, one thing that tipped me off about the whole thing was Tommy Shaw mentioned it, talk about they did everything Zoom wise, and said what they did was from the demos that each one of them put out there, they all learned their parts from the
Mhm.
demo. And then when they went to do the whole thing, they all knew what they were going to do and just laid it down. And I think that's what they did. They all blindly laid down their stuff and
Yeah,
they put it together.
yeah, yeah. It definitely has that feel about it because I mean, there's not a whole lot of it doesn't really meld to me. I don't know. It's weird. And the fourth song, we get to Hold Back the Darkness. To me, that sounded like a Pink Floyd song. It could
Yeah.
have definitely been a Pink Floyd. Even the way that Lawrence sang that kind of reminded me of Roger Waters. I mean, it sounded like something that could have been on Animals or Wish You Were Here.
Uh-huh.
And then the fifth song, we got Save Us From Ourselves, which is a good song. Had the what was it Winston Churchill intro there, his speaking part.
Right, right. And those were actual sound bites
Yeah, yeah,
of his speech.
yeah,
And I found that to be a pretty interesting song. And I think
yeah.
it's pretty fitting dealing with the COVID thing, and it kind of brings things full circle. And it's
Well, it was definitely one of the two songs they wrote during the quarantine. The rest of them they had already written, but there was two songs they wrote during quarantine. I can't remember what they said the other one was, but I do know
probably
that one.
Sound the Alarm.
No, he said he wrote that one a long time ago when he was on
Really?
tour with Don Felder. Yeah, he wrote that in
Huh,
the dressing room at Don Felder's when they were doing
okay.
their tour. But anyway, all right. Then we got Crash of the Crown. That's where James Young sings. And then it's all three of them actually sing lead on this one at some point or another. You know, um, this one is the one that I felt like he really sounded like Lawrence sounded like Freddie Mercury at the end when he does that last part. Man, I swear it sounded just like Freddie Mercury.
Oh, there were a couple of times he did it in a couple of different songs when he was singing it.
Yeah,
I had I had to stop and think, what am I? That's Freddie Mercury. I
that's
mean,
what it. Yeah, I mean, it almost nailed. He could almost nail some of Freddie's stuff. It was
I don't think
crazy.
he got a range.
No, he doesn't have that range. But when Freddie does that one mid range that he was hitting,
Right. Yeah.
definitely sounded like it to me. So then we get to our wonderful lives, and if you read this little bio in the front here that this guy wrote, he talks about this song is the only song that Styx has ever put a banjo on their songs, right? And then I've listened to it 3 times, and you can barely hear the banjo. It's like, if you're gonna say that, at least make it prominent. I mean, you got to really listen in the background to hear the banjo. So
Yeah,
like, I mean, but anyway, it kind of reminded me of "Fooling Yourself" on this one. Had that Styx sound on there for sure.
yeah. And that reminds me, you're talking about banjos. I remember in the early days with the Eagles, they did Already Gone.
Hmm.
And when it was a hit, and I don't care, jukeboxes at home, listen to it on stereo, whatever, you could never hear the banjo.
Yeah,
But now with modern systems and remastering and stuff, I'm telling you, the banjo sticks out like a
yeah,
sore thumb.
especially at the end when they're doing
Yeah,
the ooh, yeah,
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 yeah. But yeah, again, and which might wind up being the case with this one. They might go back and remaster it and
yeah.
pull it out some more. But
Then the next song you come with is it's the eighth song, "Common Ground," which the beginning, I really love the beginning, man. And then the verse kind of went back to what you were hearing before on all the rest of these songs. And then it has that other drum break at the end, which, it's like, I mean, it's good stuff, but I don't know, man. It just almost sounds like they just kind of threw it in there. It was weird to
well,
me.
see, they tell you, I read something that Dennis DeYoung said about Styx, and he said they're a fake prog band.
Well, he said that even when he was in the band too.
Right. He
Yeah.
said they're a fake prog band.
Yeah.
So, and when I read that, then I listened to this, and I'm like, okay, they're playing all these songs. Then these drum breaks come along. And I'm like, my God, that should have been like in King Crimson or something.
Yeah. I know, man. It's weird. And then we got number 9, "Sound the Alarm." And we, talked a little bit about that already. And then "Long Live the King." And for me, this one sounded the most like they worked together on this one. "Long Live the King." It was the best one as far as a total band effort, in my opinion. Like
I had great vocals on it. I liked the vocal arrangement on it.
it had great bass and everything. I mean, this one probably my favorite song on the record
Mhm.
to me.
Yeah.
I like "Crash of the Crown" too. That was a good song. Uh, then you get "Lost at Sea," which was one of them like 1 minute things there.
Yeah.
And then "Coming Out the Other Side." This one here, man, had this really great drum beat, right? It had that offbeat snare,
Right.
but the rest of the music didn't go with it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
With that cool syncopated drum beat he had, all the guitars were just steadily strumming and nobody accented when he did. And I'm like,
Right.
man, you could have really did something cool with that because the drum beat is so great. But
Yeah.
they just
I think it was built from the guitars down instead of from the rhythm section up. You
could
know.
be, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of a Porcupine Tree song
Yeah.
because he was playing, and really reminded me a lot of what Gavin would do.
Right. Right.
Especially with that syncopated beat, and I really loved it, man. I just didn't like the way the music played off of it.
Yeah.
I think they when they put that down, they probably should have went back and said, if we accent with that snare, it could make a little bit more of a.
Wasn't that 6/8 song? Wasn't that one done in 6/8 time?
I think it was, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's a Gavin Harris time signature. He loves playing
Hmm.
uh, those 6/8 time
Especially
things.
with that syncopated snare, that was all Gavin there for sure. That's why it reminded me a lot of Porcupine Tree. And then we get 13, and that's called "To Those," which is another great song. And there's a lot of great drum work in this one. This one, the drum work actually worked well in the song.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we're going to stop playing, you play a drum riff, and then we're going to come back in. He
Right.
actually was doing some good drum stuff through the whole thing. Had
Right.
that had this authentic Styx sound. It was one of like a handful that really sounded like a Styx song.
Right.
And then you got "Another Farewell," which to me was a very confusing 27 seconds. I don't know why
Yeah.
they should have left that off for sure. I don't understand it.
Yeah. The last song, I don't know.
Dream, yeah, yeah. "Another Farewell." They also called it "The Calm Before the Stream," and then "The Stream," and it was like, all right, whatever. Um, I
Yeah.
don't know. I was confused a little bit. Do you think this was like a concept album?
I think it was supposed to be. That's why I say on some of the songs, you know, like we were talking earlier before we started on the program, you know, those little pauses and stuff between the songs, it was kind of, it was like each song and a string of about 4 or 5 of them were going from one to the next, you know. And I think it, I don't know, I I think they should have taken a little more time putting the album out, honestly.
Yeah.
But again, I really liked it. You know, I'm actually thinking about buying the CD.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's not
and
bad. It's not a bad CD, you know.
no, it's not. But I think also too that I can't help but think the back of my mind they're in direct competition with DeYoung.
And I think that's why they put it out so fast,
Yes,
because
I do.
he was nailing them over there, you know.
Oh
I
yeah,
I feel like the vocals didn't have that traditional stick sound. It sounded more like ELO vocals to me. You know, the vocal parts
well,
kind of
kinda-
reminded me of what ELO was doing.
I kind of on both DeYoung and on the Styx album with between both of them, and we'll be talking about DeYoung a little later. But it seemed to me like they were going after Sergeant Pepperish, Pet Sounds, Beach Boyish type stuff. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
and also doing it in a concept of like, okay, Jethro Tull, thick as a brick. You know, that's one long song. I mean, it's got movements, you know, but
yeah. This one I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be a concept, and I read through all the words, and it really didn't like flow word wise, even though
right,
each
right,
song does tie into each other. I mean,
right.
I know it's all about, you know, overcoming and, you know, having a better tomorrow and all that stuff. I get it. Every song has that kind of element to it,
Yeah.
you know, but I don't know. There was a couple times I felt like the songs just ended abruptly. They didn't finish them like a monster kind of ended quickly, you know, and hold back the darkness. A couple of those songs, they just sound like, all right, this just end it. And then we go into the next one, you know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like you. I wish they would have took a little more time.
Yeah. I wish they would have too, because they got a lot of, there's a lot of good stuff on here. And
Yeah.
I think with them being able to sit in studio around a control board and stuff,
Right.
if they had been a band in the same studio working on this, I think the outcome would have been a lot better.
Yeah. I do too. I mean, I know Styx is, which you like you said, is just a fake prog band. I still look at them on the prog realm, I guess.
Dennis DeYoung said
Right.
that.
I know. Yeah, I know. And I mean, and it's kind of true because when we start talking about Dennis DeYoung, we'll get into that a little more too.
Yeah.
So that was Crash of the Crown. Now we're going to talk about Dennis DeYoung. Before we talk about Volume 2, he did put out another one a year ago called Volume 1, and that one looked like this. It's got a really cool cover there. You
Yeah.
know, he's
I
got,
haven't listened to it yet, but
yeah, I know that wasn't really our homework to do, but
well,
I
but
went ahead and went back and listened to it.
I did do a little bit of reading on it and some reviews that other people had on it, and they were saying that it was kind of like, eh. But the second album, they said, was hands down much better than what the
Yeah.
first volume.
Well, he didn't even want to do it. He didn't even want to do one. He only wanted to do one, and he wasn't even thinking of doing that.
Right.
But they offered him the money to do it, and then he got with Jim Peterick, and they started writing, and it ended up
Right.
being that he wrote. They said, "Well, we'll tell you what. If you do 2 albums, we'll double the money." And he's like, "I'm no mathematician, but if you tell me you're going to double the money, then I can come up with 2 albums."
Right.
But he said he didn't want to front load it. He didn't want the first one to be heavy, front loaded with good songs, and then the second one be, you know, just a bunch of throwaway stuff. So
Yeah.
the first one,
Well,
though, there was a couple things I will say about it. He's got on the inside of the cover here, he goes into this thing here where he thanks everybody, because basically what Dennis DeYoung says is this is it. He's not doing any more albums. This is it for him. He's not retiring, so to speak, but he's not going to do any more records. So he wanted these 2 were his last, and that's it.
yeah.
So um, what he did is he went through this whole special thanks right through here. If you look on here, you'll see that he's got a special thanks, which he did it in dark with light, and that's good too because I can
The
read it.
same color concept. Is that dark blue with the white print, where the review was done on Styx.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It is, right?
I'm
Here.
serious.
And this came out first. I'm just letting you know. So, but he does say on here that he says, finally, I want to thank John and Chuck Panazzo, John Kaluski, which was the first guy that quit that you were talking
Right,
about,
right.
James Young and Tommy Shaw. And then he says, boys, we did good, right? So he threw a lot of thanks out. Not one time does Sticks ever say anything about Dennis DeYoung,
Mm-mm.
ever. So
You
I
know
don't know
why? You know
what did.
why? No, here's what they think. Here is why they don't want him, because they did that Mr. Roboto thing, and Dennis
Yeah,
DeYoung wrote it.
but let
And
me tell you something. I've listened to the interviews on it, and Dennis DeYoung said they always blame him for that, but they all wrote it.
yeah,
And do you know what Styx does for their encore? Do you right now?
probably Mr.
Mr.
Roboto.
Roboto.
Right. Mhm.
So the truth is that he got sick and they didn't want to wait.
Mhm. Yeah.
And he says he don't blame them for that. But for some reason, they have this thing against him. And he's even mentioned the fact that they're out there running around with a name that he owns a third of, and he don't get paid for any of the stuff that they make off the Styx name. They people told him to sue him, but he's like, I don't want to sue them. They're like my brothers, you know.
Yeah.
And even if you go now, you can go back and you can see where he's actually sang with Tommy Shaw in 2007,
Yeah.
where they've done stuff. So I don't understand why they don't get back together and do something together. It's just strange to me. I think Tommy Shaw is probably, I don't know, maybe it's the Lawrence Gowan guy that doesn't want any parts of it. I really don't understand it, man,
Well, I
because
don't think the Lawrence Gowan guy has really any say so. I think it's pretty much between Tommy Shaw,
and James Young.
Chuck Panazzo, and James Young.
Yeah, so I
And
don't really know what the big deal is. And according to Dennis, they don't fight. They're not fighting about anything. It's just that, he's got the door open. They just won't open their end. So I don't know.
yeah, well,
You
I think it's to me, I think it's their loss.
It is.
I think it Styx's loss, because Dennis DeYoung, I think he's a very humble person, and I haven't really listened to any of the interviews. I did a lot of reading, a
Mhm,
lot of research. I mean, I researched, Tom Morello, which
mhm.
everybody knows who he is,
Exactly.
but I did a little bit more of it. But I mean, you got vocals, Dennis DeYoung, drums, Mike Morales, Ed Breckenfield, Matthew DeYoung, and the late Kari Parker, guitar, Jim Pedrick, Mike Aquino, August Zadra,
Yeah.
Jim Leahy, solo by Tom Morello on the Great Houdini.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what he call him. That was the solo was the last guitar he wrote.
Last Guitar Hero by
Yeah.
Tom Morello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great Houdini. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bass, Jim Pedrick, Jim Majors, Dennis DeYoung on synth bass.
Of course.
Keyboards, Dennis DeYoung. Horns on Hello Goodbye. Ides of March. Everybody
Mhm.
knows who they are. Vehicle, baby.
That's right.
Yep.
I'm your vehicle, baby.
Yeah. Tim Bales, Steve Elson, and Henry Delgado. Accordion, Mr. Tacit. That's got that's got to be Dennis
That's
DeYoung.
Dennis DeYoung, man. That's his sense of humor. Like even up here where it says bass, where you said synth bass, it
Yeah.
says keyboards, me, and why not? You know?
Well, here it's just got him listed as keyboards, Dennis DeYoung.
Yeah. But then if you look real close, it says me, and why
Yeah.
not?
And background vocals, of course, was pretty much everybody in the band, and Dennis's wife,
His
Susan,
wife. Yeah.
yeah, and Tito Gobi, Craig
Yeah.
Carter.
And the thing too is, and I've listened to it, there's a really good interview. It's almost 3 hours long. If you get a chance, you should go listen to it because you'll think a whole lot differently. If you're one of the guys on Styx side that's like, I hate Dennis DeYoung, I think Tommy Shaw is the better Styx version. If you listen to this interview, you're gonna like the man a whole lot better. I mean, he is so funny. He's down to earth, like you said, he's humble. But it's on a podcast done by Sea of Tranquility, and the guy's
Okay.
Pete Pardo. Go check it out. Just Sea of Tranquility, Dennis DeYoung. You can't miss it. It's a great interview. Basically, Pete asked one question and then he don't talk again for like 30 minutes. because
There you go.
Dennis DeYoung is just like rolling.
Well, hey, he's got a lot to say, and
He does.
he has a right to own the airwaves when he's talked to,
Yeah.
because I think the man, I'm telling you right now, when I heard Lady, and I'll give you a little background on this. I was telling my wife about this earlier. I was working at Ocean View Amusement Park, working in the hamburger stand right underneath the roller coaster that they couldn't blow up. They had to take
Yeah.
take tractors and pull it down.
Even in the movie.
And but anyway, I was working with this guy. His name was Jack, and the song would come on the PA. We were running music live through the whole place, and you'd hear Lady, and I'm telling you right now, everybody would always stop and just sit there and just listen to it. You could just tell it was just one of those songs that it would just stop people.
Yeah.
I mean, the vocal work is so clear and concise on it. It's just like, I mean,
well, he talks about that guy, John, had such a high voice that it was the highest man voice he's ever heard in his life. It's almost like a girl's voice. It was so high.
Right.
And then when he talks about this song, when they went to write it, they didn't know what they were doing. It was just him and James Young in there. And, all right, okay, now we got to write a song, and Dennis DeYoung's a ballad singer guy, and James Young's like this heavy rock guy. And it's like, well, how are we going to put this together? So Dennis DeYoung says, well, I got this. And then James Wild's like, well, I got this, and it's like, okay, well, let's see if we can make it work.
Right.
And they did,
Yeah.
And they did that consistently throughout their career. I mean, really, that's kind of what you got is Dennis doing ballads and James Young bringing in this heavy metal guitar.
Yeah, here's a little side step to all this too. Before they became famous, they had gone to a music store in Chicago and gotten good equipment, and were running around playing all the gigs in Chicago that they could, and they were behind in their payments, and they spent a lot of time wondering if any given time somebody's will walk through the door of the club they're in and repossess their gear.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, I mean, Dennis said they played everywhere. They sang everything. They did anything from, and even if you listen to the first album, there's a George Clinton song on their very first record.
Right.
But they were doing stuff from Sly and the Family Stone all the way up to, you name it. If you could get the sock hop, you were playing it. So whatever the kids wanted to hear is what they did. They were basically a great cover band, is what Dennis DeYoung said.
That's how all bands do.
Exactly.
And, and now talking about home bands, like Bill Dill and the Rondells.
Yeah.
Granted, they played their stuff, but I'm telling you right now, when I was in,
dude, let me tell you something. The Rondells are still playing around here.
Oh, I know.
It's like,
but the thing is, in their heyday,
yeah,
I think I was in the 8th grade or something like that. Anyway, they had a Turkey Day dance at the Hampton Roads Coliseum. So Bill Dill and Rondells were playing. It was free. You go in. So I planned on going there and went, and I walk in, and they were playing Yes's Yours Is No Disgrace.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my God,
Yeah.
I thought I was expecting to hear May I,
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I mean, that just goes to show, I mean, bands like, Styx, everybody, you've got to play covers.
Well, that's what he said. I mean, they were playing Yes, they were playing Sly and the Family Stone, and whatever was happening, they were playing it. So
yeah. And that's the thing, man. For people to say, I'm never going to play Mustang Sally again or something like that. You know what? If you know it and a customer wants to hear it and you're standing on a bar bandstand,
yeah,
you better be playing it, because you probably won't get asked back there again if you're not going to compensate.
You got to make it your own, man. You got to make it your own.
You have to. You're there to entertain the people. You're not there to make yourself happy.
Exactly. So real quick, on the first volume, he ends the volume 1 album with AD 2020, which is basically like it's the best of times, like from Paradise Theater.
Right.
So he ends the first one with that, kind of like he did at the end of Paradise Theater.
Right.
Kind of a goodbye for that volume, right? So now we get to the second volume, volume 2, and that looks like this. Nice little handsome picture of Dennis there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That looks like an old Beatles album.
Here you
You
go.
know?
Let me dig it out here.
And
I got
one thing Dennis did say was that when they started, he still says this to this day, that he's an accordion player. So, uh, exactly, look at that. It's almost identical. So he said that what they were wanting to do, he wanted to be an accordion player that played Beatles songs.
I wonder how Paul thinks of this.
Well, I mean, and if you look at the back, this is where he started out playing accordion. It kind of looks the same with his accordion songs on it, right?
Yeah,
And he was
yeah.
a kid. So
There you go.
pretty funny, actually. Inside, you got blue with white letters. It's real easy to read again.
Mhm.
Because he's old like us, he did this, I'm sure. You got to
Hard
make
to
it easy
copy
to
and
read.
print.
You
It's
know,
hard to copy and print. You'll
yeah,
blow your black ink cartridge out.
yeah, right. All the words, all the songs are in here. Not bad. Uh, the record actually looks like the label of a Beatles record too, right? Isn't that what the inside label used to look like?
Yeah, some of the Capitol records, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the back of it, he's riding down Abbey Road with his wife.
There you go.
Little squiggly line there in the middle, like that guy from the commercial.
It would have been funny if it showed him running over the Beatles.
Uh, or maybe Styx. No. So anyway, so the first song is called "Hello Goodbye," which is nothing but a tribute to the Beatles.
Right.
I mean, the whole
Yeah,
thing
every song I think was popular, he mentioned
in there
in that song.
in that song. I know it's crazy how he tied it all in, right?
Yeah. It's
I mean,
like,
I was looking at it too, and it was like, wow, okay,
yeah, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. He put it together.
yeah. And he even threw in the one from the Who, the Magic Bus.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay,
Yeah. Well, the Beatles also on one of their albums had the
had a bus too.
yeah,
Yeah,
had a bus in it. Yeah.
yeah, that's probably what it was, more than likely. Yeah.
But the Who, yeah, I'll buy that.
Yeah, we'll put him in there. Why not, right? But yeah, it does. I mean, he even added Mr. Moonlight in there, which, wasn't even really a big hit, but I mean, he put like 30 songs from the Beatles in that one song. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then you get to the Land of the Living, which, man, that sounded so much like old Styx to me. That was, Jim Peterick also wrote on that one, which I don't know if you're familiar with Jim Peterick, but he wrote a lot of songs for like 38 Special and Survivor. He's the guy that wrote Eye of the Tiger.
Right. Co-writer. Yeah.
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 So that's who Jim Peterick is, and he was very dominant on the first album as well. They probably wrote 10 songs between the two albums together.
Mhm.
So yeah, I like Land of the Living. It's one of the songs on there I really like. Then you got The Last Guitar Hero.
That was a song. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that was a great song, man. That riff was kicking, right? And then you got Tom Morello doing the guitar, from
Yep.
Rage Against the Machine and Audio Slave, right? And then the song kind of about, The Last Guitar Hero it's basically they're not using musicians anymore. So there's never going to be another Guitar Hero because everything's digital now and they're just kind of plugging things in. And, his basic theme that he's been, done for a while is, machines taking over is what I got out of
Well,
that.
that's why you got Sammy Hagar still going. He's keeping
Yeah.
the monsters working.
And I tell you, man, some of the guys on this album that Dennis has they're great guitar players, man.
God, well, hit the whole band. I'm
Yeah,
telling
the band is great.
you. See, he was worried about finding somebody that could sing vocals above him.
Yeah.
He found that bass player.
Yeah.
He was talking about, he said, I think it was his son that ran and got him and had brought him down to make him watch him on YouTube
Yeah.
singing and playing.
Yeah, because his son actually plays some drums on there. I'm not sure what song he's on, but he was on both records.
Yeah.
So then you come up to My Saving Grace, which is a nice little ballad kind of song. And it sounds kind of like The Best of Times when they start singing, when that choir starts doing that one little riff in there. It kind of sounds like The Best of Times to me. And then Number 5, we got Proof of Heaven, which is a really good song. It's another Jim Peterick song with him.
Hmm.
Kind of, look for heaven in every stranger, proof that heaven exists. So which that's a good song. Then you got Made for Each Other, and man, what a nice love song ballad that is, right? It's got a great solo. It's a typical power ballad love song, you know. No doubt, Styx sounding, you know.
Yeah.
And then 7th song, you got There's No Turning Back. It has that great keyboard solo in it, man. Really great keyboard solo. I thought
Yeah.
that was super cool.
Yeah.
And then you got Saint Quarantine, which no doubt about where that came from, right?
Oh yeah.
They had a lot of dynamics in there, man. I thought that was pretty cool. And the ending, it reminded me of Steely Dan's Black Friday a little bit. It had that feel about it. That,
Yeah.
dun, dun,
Right. Right.
Yeah. But he also goes into that what kind of like a, I guess like a MC type voice, like you're at a carnival where it's like, yeah, stick right up, kind of like the Beatles did in Magical Mystery Tour, right?
Yep.
He
Yep.
had that same thing going. Um, and then you got little did we know, and the end section's got some really great guitar work in that. I mean, crazy good guitar. And then Always Time. It's kind of a slow 70s song, had the Fender Rhodes sound going on there, a little bit like
Yeah.
Genesis at the end, sort of.
When I saw the title of that, I was thinking, I hope he's not emulating too much time.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, totally didn't sound anything like that.
I was glad it didn't because
Me
I was,
too.
like, always time. I was thinking, oh, here we go. A stab at the sticks.
Yeah, and he doesn't, man. I mean, he don't have any hard feelings about them.
No, he
Uh,
doesn't.
and then you get to the 11th, which is the Isle of the Misanthrope, which to me kind of had a Sweet Madam Blue sound a little bit about it. That's definitely a proggiest song on here if you
Right.
want to go with prog. Um,
Yeah. Mhm.
Great songs. So all his songs were over like 5 minutes, I think.
Oh, I know. But you know what? I didn't get tired of them, and it
Mm.
sounded great.
They were very versatile. I mean, there was so much going on. Every song was different.
And the grand finale, you know,
That was definitely from the Grand Illusion.
yeah,
I mean, the same words, and that's it, man. I mean, that's him saying, "I'm done." You
yeah.
know, just remember, it's just a grand illusion, and everybody's just the same.
I'm gonna say that I hope he's not done because the man's got he's just got way too much going on.
His voice still sounds the same
I could tell he was struggling in a couple of
on
places.
some of the high range stuff.
Doesn't he doesn't have he doesn't have the control he had in his younger days.
Hmm. Yeah,
Tell here and there it was going a little awry, but I'm telling you right now, the man's 74 years old.
right.
I mean, something like that. 70.
74. Yeah,
He's about 8, 9 years older than me, and he's kicking ass, man.
but I mean, when he goes into singing, you can tell that's Dennis DeYoung. Like Tommy Shaw on Crash of the Crown, it doesn't sound like Tommy Shaw
No,
sometimes.
I was wondering about that,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering too if age isn't getting to him.
Maybe so. But I'll tell you, man, like especially on a couple of these ballads and stuff, when he starts singing with just him and the piano at first, it's like, holy crap, it sounds just like he sounded in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
Only when he started to get up into those higher ranges that it was, weird. But when they on this Dennis DeYoung, when he does the backup vocal work on here, it sounds like Styx backup vocals.
yes, it
I mean,
does.
they are layered and everything it's definitely Styx sounding.
Yes.
Even if the songs aren't Styx sounding, those vocals are Styx, man.
Well, the thing is with the original Sticks and with this album here, the vocals are doing what they're supposed to do. Sound like a horn section.
Yep. Yep.
Sound like a damn horn section.
Yeah.
And on the Sticks album, yeah, they had vocal harmonies going. At times it touched on the Sticks sound, but not as much
No.
Dennis DeYoung did.
And I think it's because Dennis DeYoung's voice is so prominent as Styx that you recognize that sound
Yeah, yeah.
more than you do with what's going on the Crash of the Crown. And I also want to say, I think that there's more catchy hooks on Dennis's stuff. I feel like it was more stuff you can hook to, you know, you can sing with. Uh,
Well, that was the thing I was
a
going
lot
to
of
point out.
fun.
That was
Yeah.
the thing I was going to point out is, and I really like. Don't get me wrong, I really like the stick stuff.
Mhm.
I love Todd Suckerman as a drummer,
Yeah.
but I think the drums on Dennis DeYoung's album was much more tasty, much more in place,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's more from the direction of production on both parts on both albums.
Right. Well, Dennis mixed and produced all this himself.
Hmm.
So, you know, and he's probably done that for how many years with stick stuff? Uh,
Well, I mean, to me, I love prog rock,
mhm.
fake prog rock, or whatever you want to call it.
But
But
wait, Dennis DeYoung said they're fake prog rock. So
yeah, so
go
that's my
ahead.
whole point. But my whole point is like I don't know, the greatest music that's been done still in pop and rock and roll, hands down to me, is the Beatles.
Yeah.
And there's not a thing that Ringo did that really stood out.
Yeah.
It fit the song, and that's what he set out to do. And in doing so, he opened the gate to a lot of things.
Yeah.
And and I am so glad we got people like Todd Zuckerman and the drummers that Dennis DeYoung used along with his son.
Mhm.
I just feel like the drums on Dennis DeYoung's album much more tasteful. Did
Well,
not distract from the song, and it did not. They did not sound out of place.
well, I think the songs were more complete too. Like Dennis's songs were more completely finished to me. You
Yeah,
know, they were written and completed. Where some of the stick stuff, I didn't feel like it was completed. Like they just kind of threw it in there, you know.
I hope. I don't know. Maybe they'll go back and rework their album. Like I say,
It would have been better if they would have done like you said and took more time.
I really like the Styx album, but I
Yeah,
just I just think that it was. I don't know. Maybe they used the Zoom thing, of everybody recording in remote places as a let's see how we do. You know.
could be. I mean, I think I feel like you were right a little bit too about they were trying to compete with Dennis because they knew his was coming out. He just put out one last year, and they're like, "Well, we need to get on the ball." For some reason, I feel like Tommy and James Young feel like they need to compete with Dennis DeYoung, where Dennis DeYoung's just like, "Whatever, I'm putting this stuff out because I am." You
Yeah.
know, he's not trying to do anything to piss Sticks off, but I
I
don't
just
know.
I just wish they buried Hatchet and do a final tour.
I
I don't,
really, I would have loved to have seen what would happen if they were working together on these albums.
oh yeah.
Because, you know, if they would have mixed the two albums, you would have had some great stuff, man.
Yeah.
If Dennis would have been on that Sticks album, I would have liked it a whole lot better.
Hmm.
Whole lot better. The songs would have probably been better. And the reason why you always hear Dennis say that they're not prog rock is because he says lyrically the songs make sense. And he even mentioned it. He's like, if you think about prog rock, what are they even talking about in their songs? You know, he came up listening to King Crimson, Cord to Crimson King, stuff like that. Yes. He's like, what are they talking about? You know, your mine, yours is time and time and time and your time. And he's like, what does that even mean? That's what the difference between Styx and prog rock. Styx, the songs have a meaning. You know how he is, though. He was just saying that.
I mean,
Yeah,
uh,
he's funny though. He's a trip, man. But yeah, definitely check that interview out if you get a chance. Anybody out there should go check it out on Sea of Tranquility's site. It's so hilarious.
yeah.
So anyway, I mean, between the two, I feel like Dennis hit the Sticks mark better than Sticks did. I mean, I like the Sticks okay. I like Dennis's a little bit better. Um, I'm gonna give Crash of the Crown 7.9 on this one. I couldn't quite reach 8 for it because I just felt like it was incomplete.
Yeah, I got to go 7.5 with it.
You
I
going
mean,
7.5?
I really liked it. Yeah, I liked it. I just felt like they should have taken their time.
Yeah,
It's a little bit, it's a little patchy.
yeah,
I love them
definitely,
all as musicians. I have the
absolutely.
the greatest respect for every one of them. I mean, I wish, hell, I just wish I could carry Todd's drum cases for him, just,
Yeah.
hand him a
Yeah.
stick or something, I mean,
Yeah, Todd was definitely the highlight because I was coming into it. I had him under my microscope because I know how much you like him. I'm like, he better do something for me on this record, and I think he did. He was the highlight of the record for me.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I really liked what he did. This guy that they got writing with him, Will something. I feel like he did the production and the mixing and all the writing, so I feel like it's more of whatever he and Tommy Shaw were doing than it was a Styx effort. So.
Right.
So yeah, so 7.9 on that one. You gave it a 7.5. So now the Dennis DeYoung one, I liked it a little more. I liked some of the song works on here. I think there's like 3 or 4 that are really super good songs on Dennis's.
Right.
And I'm gonna give him an 8.5 on his. So
Yeah, I'm gonna give it, yeah, I think I'm gonna reach up there and give it an 8.5 too, because I really was impressed with it. And I really felt like, I don't know, listening to a lot of this album with Dennis DeYoung,
Mhm.
there were, floods of memories that came back, I mean,
Yeah,
more so than listening to the Styx stuff. To
right.
me, the Styx stuff was like more experimental.
Mhm.
The Dennis DeYoung stuff, like you said, it's more complete. I just felt like it was belted out with a lot more confidence.
And it's kind of like
Which
a,
was
a history of Dennis DeYoung as it went through. You kind of felt different time periods through it
it
almost.
shows, and like I say, I mean, I really, really, really liked the way he did that "Hello Goodbye." I was impressed, and I'm not really one to fall for these little lyrical, I don't know what you want to call them, quips or whatever,
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, he pulled it off, man.
Limericks or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
pulled it off.
It's funny because when I put it on, I mean, I saw the title "Hello Goodbye," and the first thing you think of is the Beatles' "Hello Goodbye," right? So I was like, it must just, whatever. I didn't even think about it. Then I put it in and I started listening to it. And I'm like, man, he is just whipping out every Beatles song almost that they ever put out.
Right,
It's like, wow.
right.
But yeah, that was pretty good.
I'm
I mean,
surprised he didn't get Paul McCartney to play bass on it.
that's very, very funny. He should have. He should have brought him in for at least a vocal line or something.
Yeah, I mean,
But
yeah.
but real quick about Dennis DeYoung, he's doing a little bit. He's working with John Anderson on something.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so him and John Anderson are working on a song together
From Yes.
from Yes.
I was thinking John Anderson country
No, not the swing,
swing, and
not the swinging. No,
I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
no. I mean, it wouldn't put it past Dennis to do something like that either. He
Yeah.
might work with that guy too. Who knows?
Well, all these guys, man, and I'm gonna hand it to Tommy Shaw. I've seen some videos of where he has gone in and done some of the Styx songs uh, with school orchestras. I'm talking about high school orchestras.
I've seen it too. Yeah,
Sounds great, and I
yeah.
love the fact that he takes the time to do this stuff.
And
And it's
even
like,
when he was on Daryl's house not long ago, he
Mhm.
sounded great, but his voice on this album doesn't sound like that. I don't know what happened there. So
I think probably what has happened. I don't know. I was saying age, but when you stop and think about how they did this, and it's just like what we were talking about earlier, where what's his name, Lawrence, sounded like Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury, yeah.
Well, they're doing their own production in their own home studio
Yeah.
on Zoom and sending their parts in.
Yeah.
So production wise, maybe it was, top of the line production for Tommy, but it wasn't the same steps that are usually taken when they do their albums.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of
So,
crazy.
yeah, I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could say is a difference in equipment or atmosphere or something, or maybe it is that he's starting to show a little crack in his shell there.
Yeah, I just wish they would have took more time, like you said, man, and put out a better product. I mean, I think it would have been a much better album if they would have been in the same room and did something together. I don't
Well,
know.
the one thing I will say, neither one of them, neither one of the projects were using auto tune.
Nope, absolutely not.
I didn't hear any yodeling in there.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't
no,
hear any
yodeling.
robotic sound.
Thank goodness.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
so that they get both of them get an A for me on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap this up real quick. Crash of the Crown, Styx,
Yeah.
right here.
And
I gave
looking
it a
down.
7.9. Mike gave it a 7.5, only because we feel like they didn't spend enough time and complete it. Volume 2, 26 East, which is actually where he lived when he was growing up, is the address. I gave this one an 8.5. Mike gave it an 8.5. It's a good record. Just volume 1, I'll go ahead and tell you, is not as good as volume 2. I gave it a 7.8 on that, just because I did it just to do it.
I gotta dig back and listen to it, but
Yeah,
probably
I wouldn't buy it
I
unless you
probably
really
will
want it.
I probably will because I believe in complete sets.
Yeah, and I bought it for that reason. And then it's got some good songs on here. Don't get me wrong. Like, With All Due Respect is a really good song. East of Midnight is a great song. Sounds a lot like Styx.
Right.
It's got a song on here that he wrote with Julian Lennon. It's called The Good Old Days. Julian sang on it with him. That's a good song. You know, there's about 5 or 6. I mean, yeah, I gave it a 7.8. I could probably go up to an 8 on it. It was still good. I feel like the second one was stronger, but the first one wasn't bad. So anyway,
All right.
all right. Well, you guys stay safe out there until next time.
That's right. Peace out and listen to the music.